Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to our webinar, Building a Powerful Customer Connection in Good Times and Bad. I'm your host, Allie Fisher. I'm the Marketing Operations Manager here at SugarCRM, and I'll be your technical assistant today. So with me, we have two great speakers, including our special guest, Micah Solomon. He is a CX expert, a keynote speaker, trainer, and best-selling author of Ignore Your Customers and They'll Go Away. It's the simple playbook for delivering the ultimate customer service experience. He's also a senior contributor to Forbes and is perhaps best known as a customer service turnaround expert, consulting in the trenches for companies from hospitality to pharma to information services. And we also have a man you're probably all very familiar with, Clint Oram, Chief Strategy Officer and co-founder of SugarCRM. Glad to have both of you here. Now, before we get started, we have a few housekeeping items to go through. Have the next slide, please. So, first, as you've probably noted, there's the Meet the Speakers. One more. Thank you. All right, housekeeping items. Before, as you have all noted, everybody is on mute, but if you have any questions, feel free to ask the questions in the question box at any time. If it's a technical question, sound problem, something like that, I'll try to answer as quickly as possible. If it's a technical difficulty that others are having, say Micah's mic goes out, just watch your chat box. I'll make an announcement if there's a technical issue. It's rare, but sometimes it happens. However, if you have any questions about the presentation, feel free to ask them at any time. We'll be holding a Q&A session at the end, and we'll get to them then. And finally, since everybody asks, we are recording this session, and we'll send a follow-up email to all registrants with a link. Now, I anticipate that will be about 2 to 3 business days. That's the usual turnaround time. However, note that Monday is a national holiday in the US, so I'm going to try to get it out tomorrow. And if it does take a little more time for editing, it may be Tuesday or Wednesday, just to give you a timeline. So with that, take it away, Micah and Clint.
Thank you so much for being here, and it is an honor to be on here with Clint, the legendary co-founder of SugarCRM, who you already all know. And thank you, Allie, for both of Allie's in-laws are flight attendants, and I think you can tell from her fantastic delivery, though she didn't have the whole nasal thing going on, but other than that, that was fantastic. I guess it's...
Tray tables are up. We're ready to go.
Sorry?
Tray tables are up, and we're ready to go.
Absolutely, and please have your mask on. Allie will not brook any deviation from that for all of our health. An exceptional customer experience, I feel, starts with a decision. Are you going to put the customer at the center of your department, your schedule, how you think about your work? And if you make that decision, and the decision would be yes, we are going to do that, then a customer-centered ethos will become self-reinforcing. So you're going to commit to organizing your time, allocating resources, improving your processes, all based on what's going to improve the customer experience. Your current employees are going to inspire each other as well as inspire the next round of employees through this magic, which I call positive peer pressure. So we all think of peer pressure as being a negative. I believe there was only one teenager in the history of teenagers, and his name might have been Walter Raleigh, who cultivated tobacco plant, cured it in his barn or her barn, rolled it, and got addicted to nicotine. The rest of the teenagers learned from each other. So that's negative peer pressure. But positive peer pressure is why when you walk into an Apple store, everybody is excited to see you, excited to tell you about the latest products, and to do it in not a particularly sales-ish way either, because you learn really quickly that that's the way to be if you work in an Apple store. Engaged customers and employees then become ambassadors to the greater world for your organization. This helps your recruiting. This helps what I think of as the most important type of marketing today, and it's very, very powerful. But it would be a cop-out for Clint and me to sit here, and say that it's all going to flow naturally. Instead, we're going to give you a few areas for where you can focus your efforts. These are the principles for building a powerful customer connection, whether it's in challenging times like we are right now, or whether it's in boom times. Either way, number one is to remember that your customers, as well as your employees, are the enemies of stupid. They are the enemies of being slowed down, of clunky processes, of bad CRM. They do not appreciate that, and they will move on. In fact, as far as technology, I don't know if you're a photography enthusiast, but in any field like that or audio, just a few years ago, pro was always the high standard, and consumer grade was like an insult. But in today's world, consumer grade is sometimes better than the professional stuff. So if you're designing systems, it needs to be at least as good as what people can get as consumers. Don't make your customers call them for what I call stupid stuff. Don't have static FAQs on your website. Instead, replace it with a dynamic search bar, which can be powered by AI. Whether you consider yourself essentially a bricks and mortar company or hybrid, still you need to achieve what I call digital parity. Customers, parity, not parody, not like SNL. So parity. Even if they walk into your store, the True Value hardware, whatever it is, they still expect you to have inventory levels that are up to date, just like they find at Amazon and so forth. They expect, Starbucks is essentially a brick and mortar play, but they understand that mobile ordering is expected just as it would be online. So digital parity is essential no matter what kind of business you run. They expect you to be channel agnostic. It was probably a few years ago that you could say, we only take phone calls, right? Do you remember that? You can't get an RMA unless you call in because they want to try to resell you on the product. Well, that doesn't work so well anymore. Be channel agnostic. Meet your customers where they are. And they expect you to protect them from themselves. I don't think there's any Gen Z or millennial out there, there are probably, I'm sure, exceptions, who understands the concept of balancing a checkbook. And why? And it's because they don't need to, because SunTrust or whatever their bank is will send them a notice if their balance is getting dangerously low. So they can be reactive because the companies are being proactive. Clint's compatriot, Craig, the CEO of Sugar, said this to me recently when we were talking. Salespeople are cunning. They are smart. If you make their life tough, they're just not going to use your application, and your CX initiative is going to fail. So Sugar has created this no-touch paradigm where data entry is actually a last resort. And I had David, who's a fantastic explainer of things, show this to me using the Sugar paradigm. I said, well, just type in my email address. What do you have on me? And he had some amazing stuff that even I had forgotten about me. And he didn't even have to, well, I guess that the keystrokes to enter my name were all that were involved. So that is no touch information management.
Yeah, these are some great opportunities for you to think about how you drive your CX initiative forward. I think probably the way I think about customer experience these days for both your employees and your customers is tell me something I didn't already know. Right? Guide me through my day. The days of having to type in a ton of information into the system for the customer to guide your customer service rep through a process, or for your customer your salesperson to type in information to help management manage the company. Those days are past. We're all maybe a little bit selfish these days when it comes to our expectations of applications. We want them to tell us something we didn't already know and guide us through our day.
It's really well put. The alternative approach, I've been thinking about this a lot, is companies that still, you ask them a simple question and they're like the Wizard of Oz because they don't know the answer or they don't want to be bothered. They send you off they won't help you until you bring back the witch's broomstick, right? So, but that approach doesn't fly anymore. The second thing that Clint and I want to tell you is to beware of the cliff of dissatisfaction. dissatisfaction. The cliff of dissatisfaction is a proprietary Starbucks metric. I know it exists. They haven't told me what it is, but it's the number of seconds before, or depending on the market, sometimes the number of minutes, depending on local expectations, before a Starbucks customer starts to feel that Starbucks is not going to be able to serve them in a timely manner. And as we've all seen with Starbucks, if this happens on a regular basis, it becomes part of their expansion plans, right? They build another Starbucks on the next corner over. So this is a cliff of dissatisfaction. You don't want your customers falling over it. And if you happen to be in an industry where industry-wide expectations are very low, still watch out. I had a friend who ordered some furniture from, I think, a manufacturer in North Carolina, and they got through the call and it was great. And then the person at the manufacturer said that'll be about 12 weeks. And my friend wasn't being rude, or he didn't intend to be rude. He was just, his jaw dropped because he hadn't heard of anything that takes 12 weeks. So I think right now that niche of furniture manufacturing can take 12 weeks, but they should beware, because when the Uber of sectional couches comes into their market, there's going to be an issue. Cleveland Clinic is one of our great healthcare institutions in the U.S., and the tradition in a healthcare institution of that caliber is that when a patient calls in and wants to see a specialist, it's okay for the institution to tell them that they're going to have to wait weeks and weeks to see that specialist. But Cleveland Clinic realized that a lot of this was only happening because their internal processes were bad, and that they were really being lapped by the urgent care clinics on every corner. Every corner that's not taken up by a Starbucks in certain urban areas, there's an urgent care clinic. Now, I come from a medical family. I'm the only one who has escaped medicine, but I still remember we had one on the corner in our neighborhood, and my dad, who is a doctor, called it Dr. Smith's house of approximate medicine, which was a little unfair, but even so, we would still go there sometimes because the scheduling was so great. You could drop in, it really matched a modern consumer's lifestyle. So Cleveland Clinic was tired of losing business to Dr. Smith's house of approximate medicine. And now, don't do it during COVID, it's too mean, but aside from COVID times, if you call into Cleveland Clinic anytime before 4 p.m. in their time zone, which is Eastern time, you will hear this on the phone. Thank you for calling Cleveland Clinic. Would you like to be seen today? Astonishing. Mm-hmm. So what happens? Well, if you call in and you want to talk to you want to be seen by a neurosurgeon, it's not going to necessarily happen. They'll put you through some clever triage right on the phone. And if you say, well, I've been having headaches for a few days, then you're probably going to talk to a nurse who is a headache specialist. But if you say, guys, do not do this as a test, but if you say some certain code words, like here's one of them. If you say, it is the worst pain I have had in my life, the worst headache I've had in my life, they will get you in right away, because that can actually mean that you're having an aneurysm. Guys, do not try this, but they will get you in right away. Or if you call and you say, my doctor believes I have a tumor, I need to see a neurosurgeon, they will get you in that day. After 4 p.m., what happens on the phone? The message changes to, thank you for calling Cleveland Clinic. Would you like to be seen tomorrow? Still not bad. Now, to do something like this caused bedlam internally. Toby, the fantastic CEO who pulled this off, he has since retired. So I think it took a few years off his tenure to put this together, but he did pull it off, and it's kind of impressive. Sugar's time-aware CX platform can similarly help customers. It can similarly help your business, really, by helping customers falling off the cliff of dissatisfaction. And I like this almost even more. It can let you know where they are getting dissatisfied. Pretty impressive.
And in there, the way we think about this is, as you put the customer at the center of your business planning, at the center of your work schedule, the center of how you think about your business, What you want to do is you want to instrument every step of that customer journey as they start becoming aware of you as a company, considering buying from you, ultimately deciding to buy from you, and then as you work to retain them as a customer and turn them ultimately into an advocate. What you want to do is have a customer experience platform that allows you to, like I said, instrument every step, capture every piece of data along the way, every interaction, and not just capture that information, but apply analysis to it so that you can understand, was the customer happy? Were they upset? Did they ultimately get satisfied through the process? And then take that data and start predicting the future. And this is what you can do with SugarCRM's time-aware CX platform is think about it this way. Take that customer, be able to rewind like on your DVR and see what's happened with that customer in the past, and then fast forward and predict what's going to happen in the future with that customer. That's what you should be expecting from your CX platform from a technology perspective to give you the insights that you need to create that customer-centric business.
It's pretty impressive. The idea that you only have this one view of the customer is Sugar, I think, is going to make that obsolete. I mean, the companies are always talking about giving you a 360-degree view of the customer, but if that's still just a snapshot of where the customer is right now, it's not as multi-dimensional to expand the analogy.
Take that 360-degree view and spread it over time. Exactly.
Absolutely. If you're a Talking Heads fan, we want to get it to be a 365-degree view. Sorry, that was okay, boomer. Carrying on. Number 3, aim to create moments of everyday wow. So I can tell you some incredible stories of over-the-top wow, just amazing wow from incredible providers in hospitality and other retail and so forth. Just amazing. But for most of us, most of the time, the best thing to be aiming for is what I would suggest is everyday wow. Clint has a great phrase for this, which I'm going to share in a moment, but I've been thinking about it a lot. And it is, wow is simply adding value to the conversation. So I was visiting the Zappos call center, which they call, of course they do, the customer loyalty team. Everything at Zappos has a euphemism to make sure you're not quite sure what it is, but this one's pretty straightforward. The customer loyalty team. And one of the people on the phones was this woman, Madison, and she looked approximately how you'd expect with the tattoos everywhere and piercings and so forth. But when she got on the phone, she could talk with any generation of customer and really home in on what was appropriate for that call. And this call I listened to, it was a woman, I would say in her late 60s, maybe in her 70s, calling in very frustrated because she had gone online, she'd self-served and bought a pair of dressy, narrow shoes to attend her granddaughter's wedding, I believe it was. And when she got the shoes, they looked really nice, but they really were not going to be suitable to be walking around at a wedding reception. They just hurt her feet. So Madison did not just jump in with the troubleshooting like we're all tempted to do. You know, she's like, well, we've many other pairs available. She didn't do that. Here's where she started. Honestly, narrows are the worst. It's almost like our whole industry has conspired against people with narrow feet. My aunt has narrow feet just like you. And I swear it seems like every other conversation I have with my aunt is about her miseries related to her feet.
That's my mother-in-law. She's got the same challenge. I think we all have a family member with the narrow feet.
Oh, you too?
Yep. Yeah, my mother-in-law. Yeah.
See, absolutely. Now, all of us probably have a relative with this situation. But I mean, if I think about it right now, my grandmother did. But Madison had zeroed in on that, and they bond immediately, and then they can move to co-browsing because the customer now has some confidence that Madison can get her where she needs to go to some at least somewhat dressy shoes that aren't going to be a torture fest. And here's my fantastic quote from Clint that I've been using all the time since he said it. Everyday wow simply, now sometimes it's not simple to pull off, but everyday wow simply means bringing more value to the conversation.
It's a really simple idea, but it's hard to do at times, right? And it starts with hiring people into your company, especially customer facing people, your sales team, your service team, your marketing team. They need to be passionate about the industry you're in, right? They need to be passionate. They need to really care about what it is that you do, and then they need to really care about conveying that passion to their customers. And the way they do that is they just simply bring value to every conversation. You know, this is often when I'm working with one of my salespeople on my sales team, and we're going to visit a customer, we're getting on a call to the customer. I always guide the conversation along the lines of, what are we telling the customer new? What is it that they don't know that we're going to bring to the table today? And that just gets everybody locked in on the idea of delivering value to the customer. And I really think that's the definition, as I said, of everyday wow. Because, you know, I love these stories of that employee who goes above and beyond the call of duty and does something truly incredible for a customer. You may have heard those stories of the Ritz-Carlton hotel employees who return a lost teddy bear or stuffed animal, and they take all these great pictures of the fun time that the stuffed animal had at the hotel while the guest was gone. Those are wonderful ideas, and it really takes, frankly, a special type of personality to think of things like that. And not all of us are like that. We're not all wired that way. But what we are wired towards is caring about the industry we work in, and thinking through the idea of bringing that value to every conversation.
Exactly. And another, just a little side note on this, it's not always the time to wow a customer. And this is something that new employees, you know, you have the crusty old employees who are like, I'm never going to wow the customer. But sometimes you get the new ones and they're like, how's your day going? And on and on. And they're not getting the cues that, you know, it's showtime for this customer. And so picking up on those cues is very important. But everyone, if they have time, will appreciate a little more value brought to the interaction.
Sometimes bringing value to the conversation is a clear and succinct and quick answer, right?
Totally.
Sometimes it's just as simple as that.
Absolutely. There's a story of a New Yorker who, though I personally found New Yorkers to be very friendly, but he was just beaten down all day. Finally, it's the end of the day, and he says, excuse me, can you tell me where the Brooklyn Bridge is, or is it none of my business? So just, you don't want your customers getting to that point. You don't want your customers getting to that point. Number 4, today's customers sometimes want humans to stay, and we are the humans in question, out of the way. The question is when. So the Jetsons test, and I've tested this on my Gen Z kids, and they know who the Jetsons are, so I think it's cross-generational safe as long as we have a somewhat geeky audience, and you guys, I have every confidence you can handle this retro reference. The Jetsons test was broadcast in, Jetsons TV show was broadcast in 1962, but it takes place 100 years in the future. And interestingly, because they worked with some clever futurists at the time, they got a lot of things right about the customer experience. One of the ones they got almost right, that I even love the fact that it was wrong, I'll show you in a minute because it's only barely wrong. But much of the Jetsons customer experience is provided by machines. This is the one that they got almost right. They anticipated everything except the cloud. Secretaries don't take dictation. Instead, callers leave their message on, are you ready for this? A rewritable vinyl LP. Isn't that close? I thought that was so close. There are self-service push-button breakfasts, and of course, because it's a sitcom, things go a little bit wrong with the breakfast and so forth. And then, of course, there's Rosie, the animatronic housekeeper. And because it's a sitcom, and also because I think they were pretty clever, they give her an attitude and an accent to match her her New York demeanor. Human delivered service is really only there to add warmth and a bit of what I would call palace intrigue. So there's the friendly southern accented receptionist. The technology is actually taking care of uh, if you want to leave a message, but she's still there to make you feel comfortable. Henry, who I've pictured here, is the superintendent for their skyscraper, which is way up in the sky. But really what he does is he finds the dog, say it with me, Astro. He finds the dog, Astro, if he's lost, and he helps out the kids if they're having trouble with friends at school and so forth. There are the occasional cab drivers. They did not predict Uber and Lyft, but there's the occasional cab driver and such who provide human interactions and laughs sometimes. And this is a useful way to divide the customer experience. If customer service can be delivered via self-service or automation in a way that is most efficient, at least offer that as an option. The woman that Madison spoke with did have the option to try customer service via self-service initially. However, ultimately, Madison needed to step in. So offer it at least as an option. On the other hand, if the service in question either requires or benefits from the warmth that we human beings on our best day can provide, then offer it and have it be spectacular when we do that. Ideally, we want the best of all worlds, which I call the triangular AI approach. And yes, before he was really busy, I did get Joe Biden to pose as one of the customers. Okay, maybe not, but his alter egos there. The triangular AI approach. There are 3 points. They are the customer, the agent, which right now let's say that's us, and then there's the technology assist, which can be AI or some other advanced type of technology, or it can be a straightforward self-service. A customer's interaction might start via self-service. It could be that AI-powered dynamic search bar that I mentioned, or less subtly, it can be a chat bot where they know they're talking with the AI. And then it can get moved over to us, to the human, when it gets complicated. But here's the thing, at that point, don't think that AI is out of the picture. On our side, it's making us provide a fuller, faster, more value-added experience because the agent pictured here still has the AI in the background feeding them things. The AI can feed things directly to the customer. A very simple example is serving up UPS tracking numbers. And also remember, on the customer side, they're not going to stop using AI either. All of us get Google for free, right? But it's not really free. Every time we identify a bunny and say, yes, that looks like a bunny to us, or we click over to the next page because it wasn't really a bunny, we are helping build the world's biggest AI, which is, or what my mom calls it, the Google. So say it again, Clint?
The Google. I like that.
The Google, yes, absolutely. So we're helping build the Google, or closer to home, the customer also is probably continuing with that dynamic search bar on the website. So this is the best of all worlds. And you just recently made an AI-related acquisition that I read about in the trades.
Just last week, we purchased a company called Node, which brings an incredibly powerful predictive analytics engine to the SugarCX platform, allowing us to just really accelerate everything that we're doing around predicting the future to help you guide your customers through their journey with your company.
Wow, good timing. Here are 2 sugar companies that I thought were particularly impressive. This is Zips, which is essentially B2B, but if you look at their website, it's just as good as a kind of nuts and bolts, but B2C site. There's many ways to get your information. There's the chat, which I believe is powered by Sugar. There's search by keyword item. Then there's it looks like they pretty much tested. These great companies really test their website. Booking.com might do 3,000 different versions of their ads, just different placement of where in the stock photo and so forth before they decide which offering to serve you. And it looks to me like Zips has done the same. They get a lot of inquiries for K95 face masks, so they're putting that right in front. Sennheiser, which I know Clint and I both love, I was wearing their headphones earlier this morning, but I figured they were messing up my new haircut. I get a new haircut every 8 months, whether I need it or not, and I didn't want to mess it up with my headphones. But Sennheiser, remarkable company, but serves a lot of pros nonetheless, even though they went with this grayscale, mostly grayscale website. There's incredible ways to search this and to get human assistance as well.
And having those dynamic FAQs built into the website and really doing everything that they can to present every answer to their customers in a self-service way. But if you need to pop out and talk to a person, a click of the button, raise a ticket, and you're communicating with a call center rep within moments. So this is a great example here of how they're bringing together technology with dynamic AI-based technology to really drive that customer service. Back on Zips Trucks, who's one of my favorite customers. I love talking about them because they are, what do they build? They build tow trucks. Zips Trucks builds tow trucks. And they're a mid-market company, and they're a manufacturing company, and you might think that they're potentially not taking advantage of the latest and greatest customer experience technology. They are. They're so focused on helping their customers and being a customer-centric organization that they grab a hold of every new innovation that they can. And the part that I love about them is they really do a great job of layering in the culture of the company, really making it a human touch through the digital channels, right? Look at the bottom right. What's their message for kicking off a chat?
Well, hello.
A conversation? Shoot us a message with any question, right? That just kind of right away makes it personal, even though it's through the digital channel. Or if you look there in the middle of the screen, let's layer up in comfort with the right protective gear as a tow truck driver. So this is just my example of a company that you might think is not necessarily leaning into the latest and greatest CX technology. They're a mid-market manufacturing company, but they are. They're grabbing a hold of it. Why? Because it's easy. It's easy to do this today, and it gives you the opportunity to really, with modern CX technology that's easy to deploy and easy to get value from, it gives you that opportunity to really think beyond the technology and think about the message that you're putting through the technology. And I think both Zips and Sennheiser are two great examples of how they put the culture of their company, they put the brand of their company right into every communication that they put with that they have with their customers.
Exactly. And I think we've been hovering around this, so let's get right into it. The ultimate way to get close to a customer is through what I like to think of as anticipatory customer service. So the basics we need to be successful but still kind of be potentially commoditized is a perfect product, by which I mean designed and tested to perform perfectly within reasonably foreseeable circumstances. Friendly delivery, being on time. But there is this other element that can bring us out of the commodity zone, where we're not interchangeable with other companies, where we're not susceptible to price competition, where we're not susceptible to being sent out to bid and being worried about it every single time without having an innate advantage. And this magic is what I call anticipatory customer service, where you're answering a question the customer has not even asked, maybe because they hadn't thought of it yet, because you're the expert and they are the generalist, maybe because they didn't want to be a bother. Incredibly, there are customers like that, and so forth. Now, traditionally, anticipatory customer service is achieved by well-trained, empathetic employees who zero in on serving even the needs and questions the customers haven't yet asked. And this is very powerful. Today, though, an anticipatory customer experience can also be created via aligned anticipatory technology. Clint, who you might, oh, where are you, Clint?
Right here.
Hi.
There it is.
Clint likes to say the companies that are building a modern CX tech stack, I read this in Forbes actually, should prioritize time-based analytics and artificial intelligence as part of their solution. Easy for you to say. You want to say a little more?
Well, this is where I come back to the idea that, you know, the holy grail of your customer experience is to not just be responsive in the moment, but to actually take your whole design of your customer experience and project it into the future and anticipate and guide your customers down the right path to ultimately being thrilled with the products or services that they bought from your company, and then ultimately turning into a loyal advocate of your company and broadcasting to their friends and colleagues how great you are. That's where you're trying to go with all this, right? And so leveraging artificial intelligence to drive those dynamic FAQs, leveraging time-based analytics to understand where your customers are coming from and project where they're going to. This is where technology is taking us, absolutely. But let me give you a suggestion on how to get started in an easy way. You've built a ton of content already to help answer questions for your customers, FAQs for your customer service reps, content, educational content that you put on your website. What if you took that from a reaction-based content approach to a proactive content approach, where you start pushing that content out to customers through newsletters and marketing, leveraging marketing automation to push out this content to your customers, segmented down to the right customer, so attaching the right knowledge articles, the right content, the right how-tos, the right best practices, the right FAQs, attached to the right customer based upon their preferences, based upon their purchase history, based upon their customer journey with you, and start taking what you've already built for that inbound perspective and turn it into an outbound tool. And you start down that path of anticipatory customer service. And every one of you can get started on that today with the most simple and straightforward ways of leveraging your marketing automation platforms and your customer experience platforms, all the tools that Sugar provides to you, to take that content you've built and turn it into a proactive service asset.
It's a great idea. As a content provider, we used to call it a writer, a content provider myself, I will tell you that on a good day, even an author, la-di-da, we agonize over each one of those sentences, and they often just languish in one spot, but that is a very good idea.
A little commercial for you, Micah.
Oh, thank you.
Even an author.
That's awesome. So every sentence in there.
Excellent book. Well worth a read.
Oh, thank you so much. I have a copy here, but it's propping up my microphone. You can get it if you want to get 3 chapters for free. Go to ignoreyourcustomers.com. My publisher was a little concerned about the title, but it seems to have worked well for at least those of you with a sense of humor. So every sentence on your internal blog articles can also be repurposed to be used proactively. And as Clint said, there is automation that can help you do this, or you can curate it, as we'd like to say about just about everything. I got a press release the other day that said that their new collection was hyper curated. I was like, oh, okay, it's way curated. So
is that curation with caffeine?
Yeah, with a K, yes. One more thing for you who are not entirely controlling your own destiny. If you have a boss who thinks great customer service, a great customer experience is expensive, maybe their math skills are iffy, right? Maybe they're not doing the calculation right. So I want to give you some ammo. The best figure I can find is that 93% of customers say they make decisions based in full or in part on word of mouth recommendation, or what I call word of thumb, right? If it's on mobile, 93%. So I thought, wow, that is a big number. Clearly what we do is at least as important as traditional marketing. It's at least as important, those of us involved in the customer experience. And then I started thinking, who in the world are the stubborn 7%? Do you think 7% of your colleagues or your acquaintances don't pay attention to word of mouth, don't pay attention to what they hear online? And then finally I figured out, who are these 7%? They're my uncle. I have this one uncle, and maybe he'll check consumer report. A great guy. Maybe he'll check consumer reports. But other than that, he's going to figure it out himself. He's going to go into the showroom. He's going to see which seems to have the brushed chrome that he likes in his electronics, and he's going to buy it. But for the 93% who aren't my uncle, having a superior customer experience really is the new marketing. And that's all I'm going to say, but bring on these questions, and the ones that are for Clint, we'll get to Clint, and the ones that are for me, I'll get them as well. Thank you guys so much. And again, it is Allie who is the moderator. Hi, Allie.
Hi. And again, if anybody has any further questions, feel free to put them in the questions box now, and we'll be happy to get to them, add them onto the list. First question, this looks actually for a Micah question. At the beginning of the presentation, you were talking about the needing to put the customer.
This was a long time ago. I no longer remember this.
Remember all the way back.
Yeah. Don't remember what you had for breakfast. So many companies put their product at the center of the thought process, but you were saying about put the customer at the center. So how do you do that, and how do you go about making the change?
The leadership has to make the decision, which was what I was talking about at the very beginning. It starts with the decision. I went into a 4-star hotel in a major American city some years ago and found the corkscrew chained down with a, those chains that we used to use to chain down our laptop. It was one of those, but it had been repurposed or purposed, I think probably purpose bought for this. And it was tying down, believe it or not, the stupid $2 corkscrew. So that leader, whoever is telling housekeeping that they can't have any corkscrews walk or they're going to get in trouble, hasn't made the decision. So it starts with making the decision. And that decision is, are you going to put the customer at the center? Once you make that decision, then we need to be re-examining everything. And still talking about the boss, if Clint were don't worry, I'll make you the employee, not the boss. If Clint were the employee and he's being purpose driven to put the customer at the center, and that means that he has a call that takes 20 minutes longer than was expected in the call center, if you really are walking the walk about being customer centered, then Clint will be applauded for taking the extra time. This is why Zappos has that ultimately ridiculous story about the 10-hour phone call. It's not that every phone call could be 10 hours. If it did, Zappos would be out of business and the customers would have to wear diapers. I don't know. What are you going to do on a 10-hour phone call? But they have this story because it's a beautiful story, and it tells their employees that it is okay to over deliver because customer service really is our marketing. Then you are going to start putting customer friendly criteria into your hiring process. So the ideal way to do this is to use scientifically proven criteria for the personality traits that make a potential employee customer focused. But if you want a quick and dirty, my book has a lot of caveats about doing it this way, but if you want to know what the 5 customer focused traits are, you're never going to forget them. Just picture Petco, our pet superstore. Always on my mind because we have 4 dogs, a cat, and a goldfish. So always on my mind, Petco. And then put a big wet dog outside of Petco. All right, so now you have my mnemonic, Wetco. So Wetco, number 1, you want to be hiring employees who have warmth. This simply means liking other people. Empathy is the E in Wetco. That is more involved. That means to some extent being able to sense what someone else is feeling before they express it. T is teamwork, a willingness to work with your team to get a solution for the customer. Conscientiousness means detail-orientedness. You had the three, but if you didn't put it into your system to follow up, which might be a couple keystrokes that Sugar still requires, click, choose to follow up. If you don't do that, you're not really doing a good job. So you need conscientiousness as well. And then you need optimism, specifically what's called an optimistic explanatory style. So we all love customers, but they will have a bad day and bite your head off. And if Madison at Zappos got her head bit off by a customer and she had a pessimistic explanatory style, she would say, oh my word, I'm a terrible person. She'd call in sick for the rest of the day. She wouldn't come back. But optimistic explanatory style, she would dust herself off, say, well, I will go over this call with my manager, or we'll bring in Micah and he'll review the call and we'll see what I did wrong. But I think Mrs. Johnson was mostly having a bad day. I hope she feels better tomorrow. I'm going to dust myself off and take the next call. So it extends even to hiring. Then it extends to how you reward your employees. And I'm not mostly talking about financial rewards. I'm not mostly talking about contests. I was talking with a very patient-focused nurse recently, and she said, ultimately, we can buy our own pizzas. We don't need these contests for with these prizes necessarily, but they need the letters on the wall to not be about all the screw-ups. They need the letters on the wall to be from the patients that they went above and beyond for.
Awesome. I'm going to do the next question for Clint. There was lots of talk about setting up AI within Sugar. So how is the best way to get started with this?
Well, I like to think about projects where you're focusing on customer experience in that traditional way of people, process, and technology coming together. People, process, and technology coming together. And Micah just gave some great insights on how to hire the right people, how to have the right people in place. And you just asked about the technology piece, but I, even though I'm a technologist and started a technology company, I have always recommended people don't lead with the technology.
I'm going to interrupt for a second.
Okay.
That company is Sugar, and if you go to Clint's LinkedIn, which I recommend, it says something I totally love. What is it? It's like a monogamous entrepreneur or a non-serial entrepreneur. Is that right?
Non-serial entrepreneur, exactly.
Sorry.
Yeah, we can wax philosophical on that topic another time. But the way I like to think about this is to really focus on those processes, right? And so how do you get started with the AI was the question. And I'm going to start with and actually flip it around and say, how do you create a frictionless customer experience? How do you remove all friction, all extra complexity, and how do you turn your company into a streamlined machine working with your customers? And then the technology comes in to support that. And that's where you're going to leverage predictive analytics to understand what products or services your customers are most likely to be interested in buying, either for the first time or in the future. This is where you're going to leverage predictive analytics to present the most likely knowledge-based article to answer a customer's question, or even better, to push it out as a best practice to a customer before they even know they have the problem. The technology is going to come in to help solve those processes and remove friction along the way. But you need to get really focused as a company first on the outcomes that you're looking to achieve, as opposed to how do I go buy tech and turn on tech as quick as possible. Because without a guiding light behind that tech or in front of that technology, you can get lost in technology and have a failed project. You need to have a clear idea of where you're going with the people, process, and technology together. And that's where I really like the idea of starting with a frictionless customer experience, an effortless customer experience. Start there, remove the complexity, and then over time you can keep up leveling and go further and even move to that nirvana level of anticipatory customer service. But I'd start with frictionless customer service.
Okay, that's a pretty good segue. I've got a couple more technical, very sugar-specific questions for Clint, and then I've got a couple more for Micah. So I'll get the technical one since it was a really good segue. Um, One is tell us more about the time-aware CX platform with high-value enterprise B2B examples if possible. And the next question was, will Sugar be having some of the AI and predictive elements pushed to on-prem versions of Sugar, or will it only be available for on-cloud instances?
Yeah, so the first question there was some examples of how to leverage. I'm sorry, I was
Tell us
listening to
more.
both and I immediately forgot the first once you said the second.
Yeah.
So
Tell,
give me
tell
the
us
first one again.
tell us more about the time-aware CX
Yeah,
platform
yeah.
and some examples if you have any.
Okay, so on the TimeWare CX platform, think about it in two ways. How do you aggregate all of your customer data together across every touch point, timestamp that data, that customer data, augment that customer data with third-party data services so that you can have a full, rich view of your customer, and then give yourself the ability to analyze that with our new Sugar Discover tool, for instance, is a modern analytics solution that allows you to do time-based reporting, that allows you to compare the results of today versus the results of a quarter ago, a year ago, that sort of thing. And so what you're wanting to do with that time-based analysis looking backwards is understand the progression of your customers over time. And then looking forward is to project where they're going in front of you. So if they've, simple things like if they've bought this product, what's the likelihood of them buying another product? If they've submitted this customer support case, what's the likelihood of them supporting another similar customer support case? And of course, with that, what are the processes you put in place? How do you put the right offer in front of the customer to unlock the potential of buying more for you? How do you push out a knowledge article out to the customer before they even have that next problem or that next question that they're most likely to have? So this is where you can start taking that rear view mirror that you get with the first half of the time-based CX platform and turn it into a set of headlights so that you can see the future coming ahead of you. And that's ultimately what the time-based CX platform does for you. And we've done that through a combination of internal development and acquisitions and just some of the most exciting new technology that you see out there. This technology is all been based on top of our cloud platform, on top of Amazon AWS, leveraging many of the services that Amazon Web Services, the world's largest and most powerful and scalable cloud platform that the Sugar Cloud is built on top of. So we're focusing our initial efforts there as a cloud delivery solution. So answering your second question, the very first examples of what we're going to be presenting out to our customers for leveraging the new AI capabilities will be for the cloud customers. And then we're looking at the overall roadmap and how we deliver this to all of our customers in every way possible. So that's where we're going with it. It's an exciting time, a lot of fun things happening as we take advantage of all this technology innovation that's now at our fingertips.
Great. And again, back to Micah. Here's a good question I'm actually curious about. What do you think, here we are in a pandemic. What do you think companies can do to better calibrate customer service? And do you have any good examples for that?
What I've been hearing is that volume is up, it's down, but the emotional content of inquiries has really increased. And I think that we could push against that or we can embrace it. And I would suggest embracing it. I've heard from technical people who answer ostensibly technical calls that actually some of the call is being spent on commiserating about working from home, because often these technical people have been working from home for a while and obviously are more easily adapted to it. So I think that we should embrace that. One of my philosophies philosophies is to help even when you can't help. A person calls in, they've been laid off. Unfortunately, you're hopefully just furloughed. You can't literally help with that, but you can help them psychologically. And beyond that, I think a lot of us have moved to working from home pretty impressively. I don't think seamless is the right term, but pretty impressively. But there is always room for improvement. Are your data security issues really handled, or are you just kind of proud of yourself because you more or less pulled it off, but nothing's gone wrong yet? There's a lot along those areas as well. You wanted an example. Well, as far as the help even when you can't help, Zappos they're not selling a lot of shoes. I don't know about you, but my last shoe purchase was, I think, in December, and it was for the pair of comfortable New Balance walking shoes that I am still wearing right now. So they're not selling a lot of stuff. So they've repurposed their contact center as an Ask Me Anything center, and they invite you to call, and it's not just that no purchase is required, no purchase is even expected, but they'll help you with anything, whether it's finding out if you can actually get a food service delivery or social services that are available in your area. I think they'd probably help you out with a PPP loan application if it came to that. So that's kind of a Zappos-y example, but I think on a smaller scale, we're seeing humans doing this. We're helping beyond what is really within your wheelhouse, a term which is very popular, though I have not been able to figure out the origin of it. But within your wheelhouse, right now within COVID, I would say most everything is within our wheelhouse.
I also throw in, coming back to Wetco from a little bit earlier. We're all in a space where we need to dial up our empathy level and listen, right? This is certainly a time where as customer-facing professionals, as we work with customers, 2 ears, one mouth, listen more than you talk, and in there, I think probably one of the most profound examples I've seen in this shift in the empathy level is that little simple thing in email signatures, changing from best regards or warmest regards to keep well or stay well. And I just noticed that over and over and over again, how many people have adopted changing their email signature to just use a different set of words that convey that empathy of we're in this together, we're thinking about you, we want you to be healthy and safe, and little things like that, I think, go such a long way in conveying a culture of empathy towards your customers, which they're all looking for right now. We're all looking for that extra connective tissue, if you will, that we're missing being in the office. So there's just a little thought to add in there as well.
You just remember that we are all really, and Allie, I know we're gonna need to wrap this up in a second, but remember, when you get a call that seems very technical oriented, the first step of it is to use those 2 ears, which all of us have. But start the call off listening and acknowledging, and if called for, apologizing. This is hard to teach, but I spend a lot of my day teaching people to apologize, even if it's not literally their fault.
Great. And you both actually answered the next question that I had, which was a really good wrap up. We have one more comment from a person who said, thanks for taking my question. Here's another signature. BSFSF, safe, fearless, strong, and free. That's really nice.
I love that.
Yeah. So
do you have to pick just 4, or you can have all? That's great.
Pick them all.
4.
Awesome.
Have any final statements for us?
I just want to bring us to our next conversation, which is bringing high definition customer experience into focus. It will be just 20 days from now, so sign up right now, sign up early and often, and we're going to have David Campbell, who is a fantastic explainer. He's one of these guys who when you ask a question that might be the dumbest question in the world because you're not super technically oriented, he'll be like, oh, that is a great way of looking at it, rather than you're wrong. So, and Claire, who not only has the most gorgeous brogue I've probably ever heard, but is the CMO at SugarCRM, and they plus me are going to bring high definition CX into focus. And the registration, I believe, is already open on the site. Is that right, Allie?
It is. It's actually on the site now. And when I send out the recording, the email with the recording, I'll also have a direct link. I know we do have some people who are already signed up, but we'll make sure that you have the direct link for it.
And in this webinar, we're going to be going the next level deeper into the time-aware CX platform. So we just had that question a few minutes ago. Tell me more about Sugar's time-aware CX platform. This is the backbone behind high definition CX. So what do you get with a time-aware CX platform? Teaser alert, you get a high definition view of your customers. And we're going to really dig into that in more detail with David and Claire and Micah in a couple weeks. And I highly recommend that you join them to learn more about how you can take your customer experience to the next level with a clear view of your customers.
So thank you so much. And speaking of that recording, Allie, they're going to get it within a few days at most. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm hoping to get it out tomorrow, and if not, it'll probably be Tuesday.
Outstanding.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your day. If your day is over, then have a great evening.
And thank you, Micah. Really appreciate it. Fantastic job.
Well, thank you. You're one of my favorite non-serial entrepreneurs. No cap and crunch for this guy.
Awesome. All right, thanks.
Thank you.